Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn Feurer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast. I'm Shawn Feurer, here with the beautiful
Kaitlin Feurer.
And we're excited to be bringing you guys another episode. And today, what are we going to talk about today? What should we talk about?
I think it's just time for the holidays, and the holidays can either be amazing for people or they can be the opposite, right?
Yeah. This is a great topic to bring up. I mean, this time of year, obviously for a lot of people can be amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Thanksgiving rolling into the Christmas season, friends and family. But sometimes people don't have friends and family. So listeners, I want you to stay tuned because we are going to dive in to the mindset behind the holidays. How, whether you have a lot of friends or family, you're going through a alone time. Because even if you have a lot of friends and family, sometimes you don't always get along with them and it creates stress. I literally have people in our groups that get stressed out about spending time with the family they have. And for me, as someone who doesn't have much family, I'm like, shit, just be grateful, right? I mean,
it's funny. You always want what you don't have, right? And you're right. For so many people in this world, for so many of our clients, the holidays are a stressful time. They're stressful. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Am I doing it right? Am I sticking with this tradition? I've got to make this the way that my mom made it. Or if I'm hosting, then I have to make sure everything is perfect. So, Nana isn't upset. Whatever it is, it can be a lot of pressure.
Well, and then a lot of times, and we have a couple people in our mastermind groups that have lost loved ones this year. And the first holidays, we've both lost loved ones. Oh my gosh. Every year at the holidays, it's like a reminder because there was this one constant person. So we'll talk about all the things and mindset, how no matter what you're going through, you can actually enjoy the holidays and find a reason to celebrate just being alive. One other stressor, and we can talk about this too.
Money.
Is it expensive?
Definitely.
I mean, can it be? I mean, we got, inflation, we've got so many challenges, and as good parents, we just want Santa to show up with at least something special for our kids. While, there are people struggling to put food on the table, to pay the rent, the mortgage. And at a holiday that's all about spending for a lot of America, right? And it shouldn't be about that, but we do want to give presents. So let's dive in, Kaitlin. I think we got a lot of cool topics to weave into. It's the holidays. Happy holidays. You ready to celebrate?
I'm ready to celebrate. I have a whole different take on holidays now, and it's something where my holidays were less than traditional growing up, and so I've never had an issue with breaking tradition. I think. But
you did have some tradition, even though.
Yeah, definitely.
And listeners, Kaitlin, her dad was kind of in and out of her life. She never really knew her mom. She spent a lot of the holidays with her aunts. Mm-hmm. And I know you had tradition because you're always telling me about these amazing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So, it wasn't like typical what most people, you have this on this side of the family, you have this on this side of the family, you have to go between the two. There's a lot of that, right? And so, like I said, it was a little bit different growing up, which is great. I loved it, but nothing was ever perfectly the same every year. And I actually like that. I'm a very non-traditional person. And so it's been great for me, especially since meeting you, to make our own traditions. I mean, there are times.
Well, you used to not really get excited for Thanksgiving. Because it was your birthday and nobody celebrated your birthday. They celebrated Thanksgiving.
Yes, and it's
then
hard.
Christmas, you didn't know which family you were going to be with,
it just got, it was, like I said, very interesting, right? It was never like the same every year. You had pretty much the same thing growing up.
Well, I was going to say, let's dive in. So Kaitlin's side, very non-traditional.
Very non-traditional.
Not really into Thanksgiving for a lot of her life.
For me personally, and you understand, if you have a birthday around a holiday, a lot of times it's just bundled together, or you're like forgotten a little bit, or you feel forgotten, even if it's not intentional. You feel forgotten, like you're an inconvenience. I felt very much like I was an inconvenience.
When you were like with foster parents, basically. So that's a double whammy. You stay with family,
sense,
and
right?
It's like, my birthday.
I don't want to make a big deal of it. Like there's other things to do. Let's just stick with that. And I have a sister whose birthday is around Christmas, a little before the 19th. So she had a little bit of a time. But I mean, anyone that has a birthday, November, December, the first week of January.
I don't know what that feels like. My birth's in
right?
May.
Yours is in May.
I get Christmas in May, Christmas in.
You had it easy.
Well, and so she had non-traditional, and this is what I love about our dynamic is we both have such unique perspectives on things, because I grew up, in a family. My mom was so close to her mom and dad, right? Yeah. I mean, they were at our house every Sunday year round. Sunday dinner, roast, sit around. They'd play cards, and the kids would sit around and play with our toys and things. And the holidays, it was always with family, and it was the same. I mean, tradition.
Yeah.
And then interestingly, for anyone who is dealing with loss this holiday season, over the last 7 or 8 years, I've lost both my parents. I've lost my little brother. And when I met Miss Kaitlin in 2020, I hated the holidays.
Same.
My kids would be with their mom a lot of times on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I remember my first Christmas, and any of you who've been through divorce and gone through a Christmas season without your kiddos, you want to talk about depressing.
It's rough.
I mean, I wrote a letter one time of, here I am all alone on Christmas Eve. And yes, I'm all alone, right? And I knew the world is celebrating, and I was literally all by myself. I was at my sister's house. She was out with some friends, I think, and I was literally sitting and I was living with her. I'm broke. I'm depressed, and it's Christmas, and that sucks. Well,
especially growing up the way you did, right?
Yeah.
And for me, Christmas to me was over commercialized. It still is in so many ways, and full of pressure and full of you have to have some kind of tradition or something to go to. And it was sometimes I just don't want to, I mean, nothing against my ex-in-laws, but they had a very, set thing that they did on Christmas. And I was like, I don't like this. This is a lot of pressure. I'm surrounded with people that I don't ever see, that I feel like I can't connect with. I've spent so much money on these presents for these people I feel like I barely know. And it just kind of got ridiculous to the point where I was like, I actually used to say, I hate Christmas. I said it. I would say it all the time.
She was Scrooge, you guys.
I was the Grinch. I was absolutely the Grinch.
And literally, the impact training we met at was a heart-opening program, right? And what did you say?
I always say, God, I really did feel like the Grinch, like my heart was growing. And then I still feel that sometimes, where I'll break through an old paradigm of mine, or I'll come upon, all of a sudden I'm making my own traditions. And I feel like, oh my God, I can feel it. I can feel this physical reaction of my heart growing. Yes. And it all makes sense, right? That cartoon of the Grinch, it all makes sense.
Yeah. So for listeners, if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of family and you're trying to figure out, finding your tribe, let's speak on that for a minute, because I think you and I have done a really good job. I had my Christmas alone without my kids before I met you.
Yep.
But your first Christmas, when the girls were with their dad,
that was rough.
And we were going into it, and she was sad. She was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to have the girls.
I told you I hate Christmas.
And in mindset, we say you either create or you allow. And
everything.
So we were very intentional. As we went into that first Christmas a few years ago, I knew it was going to be challenging for her, and I knew I probably wasn't going to have my kids very much. And so we have to allow that, right? That's not something we control.
It just is what it is.
But we decided, and for you can decide to create something different. And what did we do?
We went to Cabo.
Christmas in Cabo.
Let's go Feliz Navidad it up.
Yeah. Salsa and quesadillas and tacos.
Gosh. And the best was when the resort had all the workers dressed up as Santa and the Grinch.
We're literally at the pool, and they came and did a little parade around us. And
it was amazing.
We could have been home. We could have been sad. We could have been sitting in a snowy winter weather, missing our kids.
Yeah, just the two of us, which I love your company. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are certain times of the year, especially around the holidays,
you want your kids.
You want to be surrounded with the people that you love. And when you can't, it's time for a redirect. And that really changed my whole mindset on the holidays, because I'd been fighting, I feel like, for years, this whole why is Christmas like this? It's celebrating the birth of Jesus, and it should be a time of thankfulness, of giving, of appreciation, and just of love. And it was anything but that for me up until I met you, really. And
I brought the love to Christmas.
You definitely did. And you made it magical. And together we've made it magical. And I love that after that trip to Mexico, I said, we're doing this. Let's go away on Christmas. Let's celebrate. Let's make it through to New Year.
Yeah.
And because the New Year is my favorite time of year. I mean, we got married on New Year's Eve. I love celebrating the year past, and I love celebrating the year to come.
Yeah.
And so I love going away for Christmas. So what are we doing this year?
We're going away for Christmas.
We're going away for Christmas.
Yeah, we're taking off. And again, listener, if you're dealing with, it's your first Christmas without somebody that you love and care about, or it's your first Christmas without your kiddos, or it's a Christmas that you're challenged to afford Christmas. You can take an inexpensive trip. So just be intentional. There's a lot of talk about your vibe attracts your tribe, and we deal with mindset. When I was living alone, I had my one daughter with me in St. George in 2019-ish. And I remember I was listening to Esther Hicks, a spiritual teacher that I really love her messaging. And I'll never forget, it was like 6:30 a.m. I was by myself on a basketball court, shooting around, working out, listening to her in my AirPods. And she was talking about this tribe that was coming. And I'm like, where's my tribe? I've been doing this work for, multiple years. I'm really alone right now. The holidays are coming up and I don't really have anybody to spend. And I do want to give some credit, actually. I don't know why this is just coming to me, but my Aunt Lucille, a couple of Thanksgiving, I'm going to get emotional. I had nowhere to go. And she reached out to me, and this is my biological aunt who, through life's challenges, I didn't get to know very much growing up. And we reconnected as I reconnected with my biological family as an adult. And she invited me over multiple times during the holidays. And, I'd get there and I had a special plate. I had a special plate. So, just know that there's more love and support always available than you ever actually fully realize in the moment. But you have to be open to it. You do have to put yourself out there.
Yes.
If, a couple years later, after looking for my tribe, and I became the type of person that I wanted to attract in a lot of ways. And that's one thing about mindset is be intentional. I wanted people around me that were loving, that enjoyed good company, that weren't about the commercialization of the holidays, but were more about the celebration of love and people. And I walked through those training doors in the fall of 2020, not looking for anything. And I found Miss Kaitlin. I found our bestie, Janitha.
Yeah.
And this year, I just want to share, and I want to give some props out to both Janitha, our soul sister, and her mom, Mama Sue. We had an amazing Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah.
And a week before, we didn't know we were going to have an amazing Thanksgiving.
Because the years prior, we were like, well, if this is going to happen, it's on us. So we hosted Thanksgiving every year. Like, we made it a big to-do because...
And we invited a lot of friends because we didn't have family. We invited a lot of friends.
A lot of friends for Thanksgiving
and
Christmas. We've done that. We've done that every year we've been here. That's not... Even the years that we've left, we've still hosted everybody like New Year or Christmas Eve or whatever that is. We've always done that. And this year, we actually went away on my birthday.
For Thanksgiving,
yes. Which is, and I was stressed out and tried to talk him out of
we
allowing.
Went to Disneyland for 2 days and ran around like kids. We left the girls home and we just went and had fun, but she didn't want to receive that. Actually.
I didn't. It was such a busy time of year. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have people over. I need to make sure I have all the shopping done. I have a lot to do. Like, this is just inconvenient. We don't have to celebrate me. It's fine. Like, I'm used to it. And you fought me on it. You were like, you're being ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, and another manifesting tip, when you asked for something, you better be ready to receive it.
Oh my God!
And she'd really wanted her whole life to be celebrated, and now here I am trying to celebrate her,
and I was
she wouldn't receive it.
I was self-sabotaging. I definitely was. I know that we all do that at some level, and it's ridiculous. And I teach this many calls a week. I do this, and I still fall victim to it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't self-sacrifice. Like, when you are truly manifesting something, you have to be ready to allow it. You have to be ready to receive it, and you have to, believe, not just believe it, but accept it. And so it was so funny that I went through that. And so, I'm making sure all these things. I brought my laptop with my Costco order ready to go so I could hit order.
Well, this is the Saturday before the week of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We're leaving Sunday, going to be gone Monday and Tuesday.
And coming home Wednesday.
She's worried about the food.
I was so stressed
She's like,
out.
when we get home Wednesday, there won't be food at the stores. I'm like, what?
I don't know why.
There's not going to be turkeys. I'm like, I think there'll be turkeys. And she wanted to order it so it'd be delivered while we were out of town.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what? We don't even know what we're doing. It's me, you, and the girls. I haven't heard from my kiddos in a bit. They're probably going to do something with their moms. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to have expectations.
And
right?
we invited a bunch of people to come over and have they all have families.
And
they
all have families. And so we had no plans actually. Yeah. So we were just going to wing it and see what happened. And we get to the airport and our friend Janitha was coming with us for one of the days. She came and spent one day with us. And she lost her sister earlier this year to cancer.
Yeah.
And her mom, Mama Sue, she's grieving. They're both grieving. And as we get to the airport, she's like, I feel so bad. My mom, my siblings are all going to California to my sister's house. And I don't think my mom's going to have anybody but me over. And me and Caitlin look at each other.
We're
And
like,
I'm like,
wait,
well,
what?
We don't have anywhere to go. Like, can we be Mama Sue's kids for this Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
And
we'll do Thanksgiving. Absolutely, we'll
we
do Thanksgiving with you
suggested
guys.
it. And oh my gosh, the look underneath his face, the smile. She's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, can I text your mom and ask her? So we text her, we asked her, and I think it was my favorite Thanksgiving I've ever had.
It's so crazy, and it was such a relaxed Thanksgiving. I felt guilty, right? Like usually I'm the one either helping prepare everything for days doing it all myself, right? And so it was like
Mama Sue said, bring some
pies
pies and some
drinks.
soda.
Yeah.
And we're like, are you sure? Are you? Well, I'm sure. And anyone who's been loved by Mama Sue knows she's one of the most generous, loving, brightest souls you'll ever meet. And she just took care of everything. Like we sat around and did nothing until we headed up to their house in the afternoon.
We watched movies as a
We're used to
family. We just hung out.
Yeah, we literally, I'm like, is this real life? Do we really get to just chill?
So this is the easiest Thanksgiving I've ever had.
Ever
Are we
had.
sure? And it was wonderful. And so, it's just a reminder that things don't always look the way you think they're going to, but they typically always end up better.
Yeah. And again, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And we've really shifted, me coming from a very traditional background, her from non-traditional, to what do we want to create and allow together as we go into the holidays. So hopefully that's beneficial. If you are going through something, I've got a client and a dear friend of mine that lost his beautiful wife, kind of tragic circumstances, and he's going into the first holidays without her, Thanksgiving and now Christmas. And we were talking about, and next year he's going to do something fun. He's going to do something different, take his kids on vacation.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You literally, if you try and walk down the same path without the people that were walking with you, the path is going to feel really lonely. The path is going to feel like it's not the right path. And maybe it isn't. Like, it's okay to change tradition. It's okay to set intentions and create what you deserve with the people that you love and care about most. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job. And again, my first couple Christmases by myself, I didn't do such a good job. Like, I was very alone, very depressed, and really had a lot of pity parties on myself. And I don't do that. Okay, let's shift for the second part of this episode. For the people that have lots of family, but they don't always get along. Because we use mindset every single day. Kaitlin and I have so many blessed relationships, friends, family, so many amazing people. But as we're dealing with other personalities around us, it can be challenging. And, I know sometimes some of us create distance with our relatives because for whatever reason, we just don't get along all the time. But the holidays, there's like this obligation to get back together. And I actually like that obligation. I think you should be forced to spend time with those you love and care about, even if you don't always get along. But you have to bubble up for that. You have to prepare. How do I go into this situation with somebody that I know is going to challenge me? For so many women that I've worked with, they love their moms more than anything, but their moms are their biggest critics sometimes. And it has to be a certain way, and it has to be this. And the amount of stress and anxiety that gets caused by people getting together, let's create something different there for you guys. Let's kind of talk about some ideas. How do I go into a situation where I know there might be some conflict from the past that will come up, and I don't want conflict. I just want to celebrate the holidays. How do people approach that, Kaitlin? What are some ideas?
Well, I think one of the greatest ideas I've heard is, again, goes back to obligation. And again, I'm a very non-traditional person. So I don't believe that you should be forced to do things that you don't necessarily want to do.
But you do a lot of things that you don't want to because you care about people too.
But also because you care for people. So what I'm going to say on that is I prefer to have the people in my life know I love them and want them in my life 365 days a year, not just 2 days a year.
Yeah.
And so that is so important for me is I'm not going to act a certain way on these 2 days, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then the rest of the year not talk to them or anything because that's very inauthentic to me. Yeah. And so I think a great tip for people is to really not put so much pressure on yourself to have these perfect relationships these 2 or 3 days a year, but instead focus on the 365 days a year we have of creating a good relationship.
Yeah, I love that. And if you do it year round, and again, it doesn't have to be a lot of time or effort. It can just be a phone call once in a while, a thoughtful
text a week or something when you're thinking of someone.
Because that will take pressure off the once a year big, oh my gosh, here we have. And honestly, we all do the best we can. And, I know my parents aren't here anymore. I love them more than life, but they both had a lot of paradigms. They had a lot of hangups, right? And sometimes And I know today, if they were here, I'd be able to spend more time with them without getting bothered by some of those things. But it's all about awareness. You know, you got to understand when you go in a situation, if somebody triggers you, that's on you.
Yeah.
They're your buttons. If you let them push your buttons that they've been pushing your entire life,
It's on you.
I'm sorry, but you have to take some accountability and say, you know, if I show up in this situation and I decide I'm going to behave differently and I'm not going to get offended and I'm not going to react, I'm going to respond, you can actually create a better situation. You know, I know for me, I've got, you know, lots of people I love and care about that we don't always get along. But when I go into interactions with them and I'm intentional, I'm going to show up like the sun. And the sun shows up every day with love and light without expectation. And I think if you can step into situations without any expectation and just what you can give to the interaction, you know, if I go into a Christmas party with a lot of family that doesn't get along and I'm the most bubbly, sunny, just agreeable person, I can make everybody else more sunny and agreeable.
Well,
Would
it's so
you agree?
funny. Yeah, because a lot of times we put our family or friends into boxes, right?
Oh, totally.
Every time I'm around this person, they bring this up or they say something like this to me, and that's just how it's going to be this year. And so what happens? It's exactly what happens.
So it is. You think
so-
it, you create it, right?
Yes. And so instead, if you think to yourself, like, I'm going to only focus on the things I love about this person. I know I'm going to see them. I know we don't see eye to eye, but I'm going to focus on the things I love about this person. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That interaction, that time together is meaningful. It's a happy time. It's full of love. It's not full of, you know, rejection. It's not full of hate. It's not full of unrealized expectations. It's not any of that. It's just love.
Yeah. When I think a lot of times insecurities come in, right?
Yeah.
We're insecure with ourselves for some reason in this relationship. You know, I know as children, we really want our parents to be proud of us. And if we show up and they remind us with their words, and sometimes they remind us because they just want the best for us, but sometimes it gets received as we're not enough. If we show up in our enoughness, not expecting that, you know, and I know for me, you know, I mean, even you, Miss Kaitlin, sometimes you have totally different perspectives.
Yeah.
And you'll say something to me that I could be offended or I could be frustrated. And I just shift that and say, you know what, babe, that's one of the things I love about you is you give me such a different way to look at things.
Always.
Yeah, you challenge me. I have to be better to understand this. And you can literally give gratitude for that thing that challenges you, because if it challenges you, there's some growth there at some level, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then always just remembering the opposite of what you do have. I know, like, some people like, oh my gosh, I hate being around my dad because he's this and this and this. Be thankful you have a dad, even if he is terrible. Like,
Yeah.
even if it is hard to be around, there is something you love about your dad. Like, there is something.
And having lost her dad and having lost my mom and, you know, the dad that raised me, when people complain to me about being around their relatives,
Just like,
I don't get offended,
No.
but I'm always quick to remind them, oh, do you want to talk about parents? Like, you're complaining about yours. I just wish mine were here.
yeah.
That quiets people. You know, I have clients I work with that are brothers and they work together. And every once in a while, I'll be talking to one of them and he's talking about how his brother's driving him crazy. And I lean over and grab my urn with my little brother. And I say, you want to talk about little brothers? You want to talk about how your brother shows up every day? My brother can't show up anymore. And again, it's all about perspective.
It's just perspective.
You
And
put
there's not
things into
there's not
perspective.
anything that's right or anything that's
No.
wrong. It's just a different perspective, something to think about.
Yeah,
We're not telling you, like,
you're wrong.
we're definitely not telling you you're wrong.
No.
Just offering another perspective.
One in mindset, high level mindset, and this is what Inner Blueprint is all about. It's about awareness, right? When I go into a situation, I've got my perspective. The other person has theirs. If I get caught in mine, I'm going to fight with theirs. It's like arguing over the cover of a book. The one side has the title and one side doesn't, and I'm saying it doesn't. We're both right. We're just looking at it from different sides. And for me, awareness is going to the higher side above, seeing both perspectives, and then just working with it.
Yeah.
Just working with it. Because again, I don't want to leave out our Jewish friends. We've talked a lot about Christmas, but we've got so many
let's talk
friends that
about
celebrate Hanukkah.
Yes.
It's the same principle. We're coming together to celebrate what we believe in. And we want to celebrate what we believe in with the people we love and care about most, even if they challenge us sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, giving thanks for the challenge, right? I'm a better person because of the challenges I've had from friends and family, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, babe. Well, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Let's make this the best season yet. We've got a very busy holiday season.
Yes.
And again, we've let go of the thought that everything has to look a certain way.
Yeah, it doesn't have to look anyway. As long as we show up authentically, We do. We've got back-to-back retreats we're running, a cheer comp, going away for Christmas. January starts off with like 3 or 4, a couple
Big
speaking
things.
engagements. Yeah, and we're just showing up as ourselves. So
Yeah.
happy holidays. Fill yourself with love. Connect to your
Yes.
higher self. Connect to your God. Connect to whatever makes you feel good. And show up in those celebrations with love and light for yourself first and share it with the people. And I promise you'll have a better holiday season.
Yep. Just let go of expectations and just lead with love. And I promise
Love
every interaction.
love always wins.
Yeah, every interaction will be better.
And a little forgiveness maybe come into. That's another topic for another episode. But forgive, let go, let God. And happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
However you
holidays.
celebrate. Thanks for listening. Please share this. And as always,
Enjoy the ride.
it's a good one. Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn Feurer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.